So I do have a lot of Kundalini students and teachers connecting with me to lament the prohibitive policy about mixing Kundalini meditation with cannabis. Now, I'm talking specifically about the dictates that emerge from what's called Kundalini Yoga as taught by Yogi Bhajan. And if you don't know, Yogi Bhajan came over here from India in the late 60s and he gained quite a following. He died in 2004, but his Kundalini tribe has continued to grow all over the world. Here's a picture from the teacher handbook. Now, Yogi B is quite a controversial figure in his own right, and that's another complication that I can get into at another time. If you want me to, let me know. I am a teacher of Kundalini-like practices that emerge from his body of work, but I learned a very different system, a cutting-edge system as taught and applied by one of his original students, a Kundalini master in his own right. And it's a very experiential form of psychic healing. And it healed me from deep trauma, and that's why I teach it. This work is called emotional liberation. And I'm biased because I believe this work is really a breakthrough 2.0 process to release difficult emotions and clear trauma. And when we judiciously add cannabis plant medicine to this work, I and my groups and clients find it accelerates the emotional healing process. Now, my teacher doesn't subscribe to cannabis, but he's okay with it. He's a cool and obviously brilliant dude, and I love him to pieces. And I write more about this on my website and talk about him. Just look up my origin story on my website. Anyway, I get letters, and I love hearing from you all. And just a couple of examples here about this issue. Recently, Jenna wrote me and said that I found your website doing personal research. I am very into Kundalini and cannabis, but everything says they don't mix. You think otherwise, and I'd love to hear more. Thanks for sharing your message and your life with us. You bet, Jenna. It's my privilege to teach you this healing work. And Bobby, a Kundalini teacher, says that he does combine Kundalini and cannabis, but says that he's always kept quiet about it given the viewpoint of the Kundalini community at large. He says that I broached this subject with a more seasoned teacher, and the response reflected, in my opinion, a rather simplified and outdated view of psychoactive substances and cannabis specifically. And he adds that, well, he says, I've always assumed there are many like me who are practicing Kundalini with cannabis. Hearing you talk about it was the first time I heard someone courageously stepping out of the closet. Yeah, I'm out of the closet, but I'm not a card-carrying member of Kundalini as taught by Yogi Bhajan, so I'm not forced into that rigidity in Yogi B's teaching. And he wrote, and this is directly out of their instructor textbook, page 250, and this is, quote, "Smoking marijuana is the sickest thing on this planet. When you smoke it, it stimulates the brain cells and it constricts the spinal fluid, creating a drought condition in the skull." Well, as a clinician, and I'm trained as a clinical nutritionist, and I'm also a former health editor, I know that that's old, outdated information. Emerging Western cannabinoid science, the science of cannabis, and I keep a close eye on it, refutes that perspective and is establishing many applications for cannabis as a neuroprotectant. It protects our brain cells. And it also enhances the process of what we call neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to form and reorganize synaptic connections, developing new patterns of thought and behavior. And that's just scratching the surface. I have references on my website. I invite you to take a look. In the end, cannabis, for our emotional liberation purposes, can amplify our focus for making the most out of our inner explorations for emotional self-healing. Now, I always look forward to hearing your thoughts and answering any questions that you have, either or. So please drop down into the comments section and let me know, and I will respond. I'm Becca Williams, and I want you to lead a magnificent life, and I want to help you do that.